course, as the economy haven't been doing very well, I think most of us had so many challenges. So really appreciate the opportunity, Will and Hichem, to start this panel and this discussion. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
My name is Joshua Gogo. I'm the principal consultant of LDCS Consulting, a business, finance, and economic consulting group. Um, Here in Fort McMurray, we help businesses deal with restructuring, deal with the challenges of business, making them more efficient and organizing them to be able to recognize and take advantages of the opportunities in the economy and that current and emerging, strengthen them, and also as they become bigger, to help them with succession planning. And for startups, we help them we pretty much handhold them from the idea phase to building solid organizations for them to realize their ideas in the marketplace. And for established ones looking to go outside, we help them to understand the opportunities for Canadian companies outside Canada, in the world, with our background in understanding the free trade agreements Canada has entered into. We help local businesses locally in Fort Mac to be able to compete with businesses across Canada and to be able to expand outside of Canada. And other things that we do pretty much for businesses and individuals.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting here is that you guys come from diverse, and Hichem just came back.
Yeah.
Welcome, Hichem. So Hichem,
Last check on the tech.
yeah, exactly, checking on the tech. So yeah, Hichem, you want to do a little quick introduction as well?
Well, my name is Hichem Aïdi. I'm a serial entrepreneur. After so long, I can call myself that. I've been in business, started to get involved with businesses since 2004. In Fort McMurray here since 2006. Got my 10 plus startups so far, and what we do in here, it's one of them.
Awesome. Yeah, so the genesis of the idea is now like the first series, but what I'm like understanding here is that we have a digital platform, we have an engineering firm, a consultant, and a serial entrepreneur. So you guys have a diverse range of experiences that you all probably have not experienced at one time, but probably can relate in some aspect. Now I'll roll into the question, and I'll start with you, Efosa. It's how'd you become an entrepreneur, and what was the biggest incentive for it?
Talking about how I became an entrepreneur, I have to first of all talk about my background. Because my background led me into wanting to do business. I'm a civil engineer by training, and I did a lot of civil jobs both for governments and for private individuals. And as I went along my line of business of engineering, I found that there was always a need to satisfy or to solve a problem. So when I looked for that, I found there was a vacuum somewhere where I was back then in Nigeria, where I started my entrepreneurial skills from. I discovered there was a vacuum somewhere, that there was a problem that needed to be solved. And that problem, I found that I had what it takes to solve that problem.
So you're finding like in your DNA,
That's
like there's
right.
something about you that says
That's right, that's it.
there's something that I
Just
can fix here.
Can fix it,
Yeah.
And I studied that environment, and I actually came out with a solution.
So what was your incentive? Why did you want to do that?
I wanted to help people.
You wanted to help people. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a common theme here, but I have to ask you too.
So yeah, during my last role with Sancor, I've stayed there for 5-6 years. I've been frustrated myself when we have an emergency for which we need a consultant, an engineer, to be available right away. We would have to wait for a day or two for someone fly in from Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, because most of the engineering offices that they are here, they are more of satellite offices, all respected colleagues, but
Yeah.
they are here for specific projects. They don't have enough manpower to cover the need of the community. So one of the main things for which we started this business, me and my partners, is to be able to be available. We are just one phone call away. We are very familiar with the community. Most of our resources have been in the oil and gas, working with the municipality, Alberta infrastructure, with the industry here. So our operation or our setup is a very good fit for a growing community. I know it haven't been on the growing path for the last few years, but I'm sure it's gonna get back to it. So we were blessed again to work here, and the number of our resources, the number of our revenue have been more than doubled over the last 4 years, despite the slowing economy. So it's a very good place to work. And
so with that, so what was the incentive? So going back, I'm sure this is going to be a connection piece for everybody, but what incentivized you? So I can see obviously from that little piece that it was to fill a need, right? Obviously remote workers, they're not here. You can make that happen, and you have industry experience. But what was the incentive?
so I'm a civil engineer, like Efosa, by the way.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. by education. I've been planning or thinking of starting my business.
What is that? What is that? What is that thing that why did you want to do it?
Because I enjoy doing it. I
Yeah.
love doing it.
You like the challenge?
I love the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Joshua.
Yes. So the question is,
The question is, how did you become an entrepreneur, and what incentivized you to do that?
well, for me, I've always been, and that is from being a childhood, I've always been fascinated by how things work, how the economy works, how solutions are brought to issues, really. And I've always enjoyed thinking about things or doing things in unique ways. So it turned out that I was never satisfied with any particular way of doing things or any way of doing a particular thing. So quickly, early in my career, I discovered that it was difficult for me to work for any organization because I would get easily bored. So I started off as an engineer, as a chemical engineer, working for
3 engineers.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm just
How did
learning
you
all
do
the
that?
time, man.
Yeah, and I used to work for Schlumberger, oil field services, an international company. So I enjoyed moving around, but I quickly got bored. And I said, then computer science was coming on. It was technology, the .com period technology. I thought, okay, maybe the excitement of new things coming. I thought, okay, I'll be excited there. Let me go and get excitement. I went there and did graduate studies in computer information system, but oh man, I couldn't stand it because I was doing software testing and software engineering, so the long hours of just doing one thing didn't work for me. But then I realized that was when I discovered really my real passion, that is actually economics and finance and just understanding how businesses work, how they fit into the economy, how money works generally, and how it flows through everything. And so I became really, really interested as a result of that in economics. So I went to do economics. So I changed completely to do economics, where I did my master's and PhD.
Do you find that like it took? How long did that take you to find that place where you're like, this is actually what I enjoy and what I like?
Yeah.
How long of a process was that?
It was, I was never at any given time, doing one thing, and I have never done that, so I never really experienced the passage of time. So I found myself that at any given time I'm doing 4 or 5 things, in addition to going to school. So before I knew it, the time will be gone, and deep in down, I also realized one thing: freedom. So that really what I was worried about was being locked into one thing, right? So I realize that when I'm free, doing a whole lot of things, free thinking about things in the way that I like to think, and bringing in that way unique solutions to problem. And at that point, my diverse background and experience now equipped me to be able to understand issues and problems from very different perspectives. Yeah, so the key motivation was freedom, and the freedom in the way I think, in the way I do things, and what I want to do, where I want to be, and how I want to. So, yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that, because I think that's like something that everyone seeks out is like, I want my time back, or I want to have that availability to make sure that I'm be able to do the ideas outside of my current scope of work. And I think that you guys found, same with yourselves, is that you'll have a job and you also have 5 other projects on the go as well. So it kind of hones in nicely to it. But Hichem, just want to ask you the same question. Why did you become an entrepreneur, and what motivated you?
How? It's just a choice. Basically, I choose to be one. I never had, I finished it, I got my university degree. I'm not an engineer, I dropped from that. Didn't make sense to me at a certain point, but nonetheless, I'm an electromechanic, like a technician. So, but I just choose to be an entrepreneur and to be a small business owner. I think my biggest incentive, just, I grew up in a family. My dad, he's an entrepreneur himself, and I never seen a paycheck come through our door in my childhood, and I just tied that to freedom, to his flexibility, being around in the house, and I grew up seeing him. I lived that way growing up, and just it got passed down to me, and that's how it started, and that's what took me to this, to be in small business, starting small businesses. And the biggest incentive, I will say, was it's building a relation between giving and taking. That's something you can develop really when you are not working. When you are running a small business, you're giving and taking every day on a regular basis.
Yeah.
You add a value, and I think you can achieve more than just by doing whatever you're doing on the 9 to 5 job.
I think that's really important. It's always, I've come across that kind of topic is like value add. What's the value you're giving people, even if it's not in exchange for money necessarily, but if it's in exchange with how you make the person feel, you provide them with a resource. Compensation can be given in many ways, which I found, and it's not necessarily monetary. That's almost the last aspect of it, right? So a lot of it's relational, and I think that's the mark that people miss. They look at the dollars before what it is that entrepreneurship really is. It's just learning, enjoying the process, being aware that you're going through a process, and then looking at all that social capital that you're building to be able to then have that out into the marketplace to create value in exchange for capital, right? So
100% there. I mean, the money thing is just a result. It's just a tool that opens doors and the result of any action, whether it's a 9 to 5 job or just running a small business or a big company. It has never, it's misused or overlooked by people. It's like, okay, I work to make money. No, you don't work to make money. You work to bring value, to put value out there, and to achieve some certain things.
yeah, because
And
essentially,
of course, you get paid for it.
yeah, and essentially, like each one of us are our own companies. I had someone talk to me one time, and they said, William Clarke, the CEO of this organization, why are you going to take your time and resources and implement it into this next venture? Like, is this a strategic move that you're doing with your time, with your knowledge and experience to move into this next venture? Is that the best use of the assets that you've built so far into moving into it? So when people jump jobs, essentially, they're working in this business, they want to go over to here. Well, they are the business, right? They are exchanging themselves to sign that contract, to commit themselves to somebody else to help them with their mission and values, right? So there's one thing I want to bring up. I'm not sure where you guys are sitting, but the Harvard Business Review talked about this, is that there's a new economy out there. Are you guys aware of it? I won't say anything. I'll leave it in your hands. Whoever wants to speak up first about this new economy, feel free, because I have the way that I've interpreted it, but I want to let other people know, just because valuable information needs to be shared with people. So, yeah, I encourage you. If you guys want to jump on that.
So before we move on to the new economy topics, just to comment on your last topic, you and Hichem touched on, giving back to the community is key. It's not all about money, as you said, Hichem. Totally agreed. For example, Akron Engineering. I am the managing director. At the same time, I'm the president of Plant Engineering and Maintenance Association. It's a not-for-profit organization, national organization for the Fort McMurray chapter. I'm a leader with the emergency social response with the municipality. We work closely with Center of Hope, Habitat for Humanity. We work with APEGA, the local chapter here. So it is a key to be more engaged and more involved with the community and to give back to the community. Talking about the new economy, I think my colleagues here will be better to talk about it more than me, and it's more related, I think, to your area of business.
I've not read the Harvard review talking about that new economy, but since the 90s, really, we've heard about the new economy, and you find out that at any given time there is in the shadow, something big, right? The new economy in the 90s was about knowledge. That was when manufacturing started leaving North America, the advanced economies, then to the emerging, following, and so creating the knowledge that drives or that drove this manufacturing, because manufacturing was the economy before the knowledge economy, which was a tertiary economy emerging, was a big thing. And then as the information, as the use of technology, right, moved into every sphere, the new economy now is information, right? And how it's not information isolated somewhere, but the information about everything, and how that information is transformed and turned into creating what drives the market, what the market needs. You can look at it from one perspective. It used to be that someone will create something and put it on the shelf of manufacture something, put it on the shelf of a supermarket, and you go and buy it. Or movies will be you will go to Blockbuster and choose a movie from the shelf that has already been produced.
Yeah.
Right. But now, what is driving all that is first knowing about you first, and then using that information to create what you want, what you will want tomorrow. Before you know you want it, there is already someone who knows what you're going to want tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you wake up tomorrow, it's suddenly there. So look at Netflix, moving from blockbuster DVD. As you watch, they know the next movies to make that you will like to watch. So the power of information for the first time is now driving everything else, rather than being created from everything else. Data mining has been with us, but machine learning combined with data mining is now creating a new one. And of course, the emergence of 5G, the Internet of Things, that we now use, the new economy is all about predictive economy.
Yeah.
Right, predicting what is to be, what will be needed, and what the market will need, and being there, finding yourself there before the consumers themselves get there, instead of being led by the consumer, because the consumers themselves don't know what they will want tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you already know because of information you've gathered from everything around them, because everything around them, in them, with them, collects information first to make their lives better.
Well, I think at this point, I mean, speaking of information, I'm more comfortable I'm more comfortable with looking at the things from the aspect of dealing with knowledge more than information. And I read that somewhere for Bill Gates, where he said in the book, where he was talking about this is not the era of information anymore, it's the era of knowledge. So basically, there is information, yes, and it can be gathered, and you can just like work to make a product or to predict the future and the market for whatever subject matter here. But the knowledge is more important. Information is easy, it's everywhere, and it's like you can find all kind of them. It's just okay. We take this panel for instance. Is you will find tons of them. Lots of people that are talking about business or small business, opportunities and challenges. But what we try to present here more, it's more about giving them knowledge more than information, and to combine that information as a professional yourself or everybody around here. You just grab it as a piece of information, you work with it, and then you just send it out after you digest it as in a form of knowledge to the consumers, basically.
Yes, yes. Let me just clarify what now. Before now, right? Usually activities we go into a body of knowledge, and then it will create some information, and people from experience, and will be able to transform that information to knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was in the economy. Now that has changed. In fact, let me pull back my word information. Now is data, right?
Wheel it back into business.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
data, right?
Yeah.
Now is data. Everything is creating data. So data is jumping information to knowledge. Before data will go through information, before those with the competence and with the level can manage that information to organizational knowledge or individual knowledge, and then it becomes something effective. But now it's big data. Data so big that if you try to create information chunks, right, it's too massive. So machine learning, artificial intelligence is grabbing that data and creating intelligence with it, jumping information straight to knowledge. So the power is now shifting from those who can apply information to those who can understand data, who can manipulate, who can create intelligence around that big data.
So to go on a theme of what we're talking about too, right? So we're looking at opportunities. So with the new economy, there are opportunities. Now we have this asset class of information that we can now utilize for our own businesses. The challenges here are finding that information, those resources here. Now, like what I've come across and seen is like if you go to New York or you go to Toronto and you look at all the high rises, they used to be all lit up. Everyone worked in there. Now you're noticing all the black little dots, all the black little spots, because now these people with that information don't necessarily have to be there, so the cost is coming down as a whole for those products or services with those technical expertise, because they can pay less for somebody in a different location. So like what I see as well as with the new economy is that it's Hichem has mentioned to me before, but it's no longer business to business, it's peer to peer, right? We're all looking to be partners rather than an employee or a subcontractor. It's like, hey, let's do business together. It's not very much contractual, or it's just like you deliver this and deliver that. Like people are looking for partnerships more than anything. So those streams I find are being more of an opportunity as well, utilizing these different resources from people out of market, pulling them in here, and especially with Fort McMurray, we're people poor. We have a lot of people, but the specialized knowledge that we need, it's not here. So can you guys speak on that, on like maybe in your businesses as you see as a challenge in Fort McMurray, and the opportunities that present itself with understanding kind of like what we just spoke about?
So yeah, my own business model is exactly as what you said. Me and Afonso were talking about it before we started this panel discussion. We are poor in resources here in Fort, still, even with the slower economy. So optimization is a key, and I've seen it happening in when I was still in the oil and gas.
What do you mean by optimization?
Optimization means
But optimization for what is it you're
so
looking at?
optimization means use the resources that you have
Mhm.
to the best you can, in more efficient manner, so that you can still have the job done to the standards with much less utilizing much less resources, maintaining the safety and quality and so on. So my business model is, I think, more and more businesses are getting into the same model, which is having a core of full-time resources, not as much, and then have a large pool of consultants, freelancers, that you can tip into whenever you get a demand for a specific project or a specific area where you have access to these resources. They will come in, partner up with you on a specific project, get the job done, and shake hand and move on, and so on. So
That's more of a common thread now, right?
exactly.
Even for your like software platform as well, right?
Yeah, exactly what the software platform is also trying to create for people in Fort McMurray too. Because what we have looked at, basically the challenges people encounter when they want to get some services. You know, everybody is so busy in Fort Mac. Most people who have come into Fort Mac came in for a reason. And that reason was to make as much money as they can make from the oil industry before going back to wherever settlements they came from. Now, because of their engagement in work, there are so many other basic things of life that they tend to overlook. So we looked at that and said, okay, this is a challenge, this is an opportunity. Why everybody is, like you already said, the world trend now is on the internet. There's artificial intelligence coming up rapidly. Everybody has access to a phone, everybody has access to internet. Why won't you take advantage of what you have living with you to request for services that ordinarily you would have gone out to procure? So we came up with that need and said this thing can be better achieved if it's on the internet. Let people showcase their skills. It must not necessarily mean that you must work from 9 to 5. If you have something that you need to procure, you need to get, or a skill that you have inherent in you that won't take so much of your time, you can put that same thing up on the platform, and you'll be sure you have people who will require your services, and you get paid for what you are providing to them. So that challenge came up, and we looked at it and we said we can also fit into that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So that's
So for like, so for Fort McMurray, if you were to give some advice to somebody either in business currently through the experiences that you had, and or somebody that's looking into getting into business, which is there's a large cohort because everyone's showing up to work. Well, a large majority are showing up to work and saying, "I wish I could do my own thing." What kind of advice would you give them on that aspect?
Just following from what we've been saying, in Fort Mac, there's we can talk about Fort Mac, but the big opportunities for Fort Mac businesses, and the reason they have those opportunities, right? One is that, I said, Fort Mac businesses should start looking at the global supply chain, because of the new economy. What is important for businesses to grow, to be successful, is how they're able to find themselves, right, a niche spot in the global supply chain. Because every product you take today, every product you take today, the chain, the supply chain that came together to make that product is global.
Yeah.
True.
Right, it's global. Second, Fort Mac businesses should be aware that, and should be aware of the implications of the free trade agreement that Canada is signing, and also the notion of free trade among the provinces. And so what you find, and what tells me that some of them are not fully aware of that, is that businesses are able to compete with them that are not resident here.
Yep.
So they come from everywhere, from Europe, from US, from other provinces, to compete with them for jobs in the industry here. They can complain about, oh, this company doesn't even have an office here, but that's the implication of those free trade. And those free trades must happen to make that global supply chain efficient.
So
Right?
And it's,
So,
yeah.
what Fort Mac businesses should do then is, and you're going to find, and you see that, and one of the, when we come to talk about the challenges, say they are usually started by very good entrepreneurs, individual businesses, sole proprietorships, and then they are doing fine, and then suddenly a big company comes and start competing with them, or they hit a wall. They are not able to expand beyond that point because everything up to that point is limited by the capacity of the entrepreneur. And so they are not able to take advantage of these big opportunities along this global supply chain. That they are not looking at other provinces, other countries, other regions to go and compete. So Fort Mac, people who are coming to, or individuals in Fort Mac, or businesses in Fort Mac, doing businesses, right, starting businesses, or having companies, should find a way of understanding this supply chain and making it work for their businesses here. And that sometimes could mean peer-to-peer, but not just peer-to-peer in Fort Mac. Your peer could be anywhere in the world.
Anywhere. Yeah.
You just need to know how that value is created along this global supply chain that two of you can realize together. Right? So what does it bring? And you should not be limited to where these people are, and that is the internet, the data, the connectivity of the world and all that. And so then, even when you are local, you are truly global.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a good point, and I think that's always a challenge when it comes to I think just self-awareness. There's a, you hit a wall like you said, but it's not a wall of like business or capacity of time. It's a wall in a way of thinking, right? And that the only thing with that is that you don't necessarily get exposed to people enough to help you understand that global supply chain, that new economy, the new way to utilize resources in the global market. So yeah, that's great that you brought that up. I definitely agree with you on that. Do you guys have anything else to say on that aspect?
So I look at it from a global perspective, as this is one of the main themes of the new economy, but at the same time we need also to focus on our local business environment. For instance, when I'm looking for consultants, I would definitely look for Fort McMurray based consultants first, if not in my pool of resources, then if not Edmonton, if not Calgary, not Vancouver, Toronto, then I may consider someone overseas in Europe, Asia. So since we live and work in Fort McMurray, I would give preference to our local resources. That's number one. Number two, we here as a small community have advantages. That one of them is the programs that are offered either with the municipality or with the province in general. They give lots of support to businesses. I would also encourage a person who would consider to become an entrepreneur is to upgrade him or herself. For instance, I got my MBA before I started my business, few years in preparation. Do your due diligence, understand the market, have discussions like this one, business to business or peer to peer interactions does help a lot. So there is a high potential, and be prepared for lots of hard work, especially at the first 2-3 years. Never give up. There are big potential still here in our community.
Do you find if you were to sorry, I'm just gonna kind of like go with this. If you guys were to restart it all over again, I know what I would do. I would find, if I were to start all over again, I'd find the smartest person. I would go pay them for their knowledge. That's just me personally, because then they'll be able to lay out the roadmap. And I find a lot of the times when people start, or have an idea of something, there's no roadmap, and that's what causes the stress, and that's what causes the burnout, and that what causes them to hit that ceiling and then go off the map.
Totally agree, and that's why I said be prepared. Be prepared. It's just a word, but I'm sure Joshua and also would agree with me. You have to
Yeah.
have your business strategy. You have to have your marketing plan. Again, you have to do your homework first. Go ahead.
Yeah, you see, like you said, he was going somewhere, but he had to stop. Yes, you have an idea, but what I would tell people is that it's the idea that matters the most, not the amount of money to push that idea. It's for you to have that idea and stick with that idea and continue to push that idea. The money to push that idea will eventually come, because all it means is that you need to be able to have a strong position about that idea and sell that idea to some other person who will buy into your idea and probably bring the funds for you to continue. Your businesses have been grounded by way of people not having the funds to continue with such a business, but the idea is still very much alive in their heads. So my advice to people who want to go into business is that stick with your idea till the very end. The money to pursue that idea will eventually come by you speaking to people, by you going to network more with people, share your ideas with people. A lot of people have this conception that the more they speak about their ideas to people, people will hijack that idea from them and set it up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, but people still have ideas from people, but they don't do it as much as you, the original person who founded that idea, will be. And they won't last long in their own ideas, and they'll crash because they had no base for it eventually. Be steadfast to your dreams, seek supports. There are a lot of programs, like you said, the municipality has to encourage entrepreneurs. And what I've found in this part of the world, which is different from where I'm coming from, is that the environment is quite friendly. They want to see that you succeed. The government spends a lot of monies and time educating people on how to run their own businesses. The government, the province, the municipality, they provide funds for people to start up their own businesses. You can't get this in any other part of the world. You can't get it in any other part of the world. So because these things exist, what it simply means is that take your dream to the highest level you can take it to, because you have a government that is willing to also support you in taking that dream to where you want to go to. So that's my advice to people.
Yeah, let me
No, go ahead.
let me come in with two, just following from that, two key advice. One, right? I usually tell people, right, if your idea is big like an elephant, if you're going to hunt for an elephant, you have to, from the onset, bear in mind that even if you can kill the elephant, you can't carry it alone.
Yeah, true.
If your idea is small, fine, you can deal with that, right? You can kill a squirrel and do whatever you want with it. But if your idea is big, the bigger your dreams, the more resources and partnerships you will need. Otherwise, even if you kill the elephant, you can't carry it, and the elephant will rot with you there in the wild.
Yeah.
Right? Second, from the onset, and as a consultant, I've seen this across businesses, right? Everything that is alive, that is growing, right, has three distinct parts: head, body, and appendages. See, you'll see that most people will start a business based on their skills, right? Based on their technique, which is fine. You can start a business with that, with an idea, right? But then you will quickly find out that as you grow, you're going to be limited by two things you cannot change. You have only 24 hours in the day, and you can only be in one place at a time. And so, understanding when to develop more legs, to be at different places at the same time, understanding when to grow more bodies to manage those legs and hands, and understanding when to bring in more heads to fuse together is what will make you to grow sustainably. Otherwise, this is what you're going to find out, right? Like every organism, right? If you lose your legs and your appendage, and as you're growing, you're going to find out you will quickly get old. As you're getting old, the business is getting old. When you die, the business is dead, right? But what you will find first is you can't run as fast as, and you can only be in the same place, in one place at a time. If you lose your legs and your appendages, your legs and your hand, you get crippled. You're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter how much idea you have in your head, you're going nowhere. Right? If you lose your body, so you become head, so you've not created an organization that coordinates the hands and the legs. At some point you find out that your workers don't even understand what you're saying because you're so far off from where they are. And any organism without body that has only legs and head will have a stunted growth. You're not going to grow healthy. If you lose your head, then anybody who has killed a chicken will find out. You will just run around everywhere until you hit a wall and you fall down and die because you're just doing everything with no direction.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you have an idea? Yes. What type of organism do you need to deliver that idea? And at what point do you begin to develop? How big is that idea? If the idea is big, then you have to start bringing in partners.
But I think here, at least from my perspective and from my previous experiences, what's been overlooked here when talking about starting, usually people they start, yes, with an idea, but they lack funds, they lack experience. They don't even have the full picture. They already develop it and 1, 2, 3, like a whole plan, all together organized in a way that they can bring people on board, which makes it even harder. So yes, in theory, you have to plan, you have to bring people on board, you have to get funds and so on and so forth. That's in theory again, but if you want to hit the road with all that, you're not going to hit the road at all. So yes, I agree and so strongly with you when you brought to the talk here to the table, when you said people usually they start with some skills they have, and from that point on, they leverage on that, and they turn it to self-employment opportunity to begin with, then with a helper, then to small business operation, and from then, they will keep growing. And so at the beginning, I truly believe that you just start with whatever you're trying to do. If you have an idea, start, just throw it in the market, prove the concept, see how things work, how things they work, and start to talk about it, but just don't talk about it and plan it and holding it back from the market. Just jump with it. And I did that. That's why I have multiple like businesses and operations. Sometimes I even call them operations or just ideas, not even to the level to small business or business, for sure, far from being a business. But by the end of the day, I still try it, see how it goes, get some attention, and then there is no problem. It doesn't hurt me to scrap it and go to the next one. So yeah, you gotta jump, and not everybody they have all those resources available when they try to start. When even if they are ready, maybe the circumstances around them are not ready. The market is not ready. Their lifestyle doesn't accommodate whatever they're trying to do. So it gets a little complicated, and it just doesn't go with 1, 2, 3. Just do it, and without being crazy, of course, without putting yourself at risk. But if you can manage, like between what you do or how you earn your money at certain point, and your dream or your future, your future baby, basically, yes, why not? Just go with both.
Yeah, entrepreneurialism is definitely a cultural media extravaganza. They've titled this and they've made it sexy. Sexy is not sexy. When you're actually in it, you're in the shit.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
emotionally, spiritually, relationships, your health. Like
Mhm.
all these things get put on the table, and you just some of them fall off, and you just seem to think that this business is the most important thing. So it's not necessarily like get to the finish line, because there's no such thing as the finish line.
No,
It's all about just playing the game.
it's a continuous evolution.
Continuous evolution. So I say for people that are currently in business, that's a really good perspective. And people that want to get in, it's not a race. There's no such thing.
Mm-mm.
Like we've all felt that, and it's hurt us like in some aspect of our life.
Yeah.
So I just want to end on this last question to kind of wrap this up, because I think there's been a lot of value with just what you guys have brought to the table, your experiences in your businesses. Fort McMurray, where it's at right now. Where do you see it going? I'm going to drop that down. That's a big question. Where do you see Fort McMurray going? Where do you see yeah.
Going where it's always been.
It's very opinionated.
Yeah, it's going where it's always been. It's Fort McMurray, up and down. It's just a cycle.
Well,
Any other opportunity, any
for
other
me-
economy doesn't have to get offended of that. Now today, it was booming a few years ago. Now it's dead. It will boom again eventually, and you'll just follow its own cycle. No matter what you do, it's not about the economy. It's not about where you at or what Fort McMurray is doing today. It's about what your perception, what you're doing, and how you can change and be flexible with whatever changes around you. As an entrepreneur, if you stick to your ground and you are hard head, and let's say you run your business. One of my businesses is property management, for instance. And if I try to do it all the same way for the last 10 years, it will break, because the market wouldn't simply follow. Sometimes it's crazy, so I have to adapt myself to that time. When it's dead, I still have to adapt to myself to that change. By the end of the day, after 10 years, after a run of 10 years, I will say, you know what? I just made it over 10 years with all its high moments and low moments. So it's always Fort McMurray. Nothing changed.
Yeah. So what do you guys think?
Well, for me, I'm new in Fort McMurray.
Yep.
But no matter how new or how old I think I've stayed in Fort McMurray, I just believe that so long as there are people living in Fort McMurray, there will always be a way for growth. There will always be a way for people to succeed. Life was not designed for it to be upward moving all the time. Life, from my own experience, like you also could attest to that, the ground is never level. That's why you have surveyors, they have a trade. They need to take the levels at every point in time. So if the economy is having a downturn now, I'm very, very convinced that there will be a rise, so long as there are still people living in Fort McMurray. Fort McMurray has the potentials. It's the oil sands of the region. It's the golden goose that lays the golden egg for the economy of Canada.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be washed away by anything that seems to be happening right now. Whatever happens in Fort McMurray affects every other economy across the world because of the resources that they have in here. It's a matter of time, things will come up again. And we as entrepreneurs, we are conscious of this. That's why we still keep doing our best to see that what we are doing does not get taken away by the sentiments of people that the economy is going down. It will rise again. It will pick up. That's my submission.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's the thing. I think we have this like future. We always have the future in mind, right? So that's what we believe in so much.
Totally agreed with that sounds right to me as well. What Efosa and Hichem said, adapt to the new reality. I even go above and beyond. I look for opportunities, even in slower economy phase that we are going through right now. For example, when the economy was booming, there was no big room for small or more efficient service providers, smaller businesses like most of the new entrepreneurs. But now, for example, the oil and gas, they have more micro projects. So they used to have like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects. Now they can have like $500,000 project, which can be ideal for smaller firms like my firm size or mid-sized firm. Now most of the industry is more keen about their cost, so they may think twice before they fly in a consultant from Edmonton or Calgary. So that's an opportunity for us because we do work and live here. So always be positive, look at the good side of it, try to find opportunities that would benefit your business on the short and long term.
If you don't mind, I'm sorry here, but you just stepped into something. I really want to have my 2 cents on that. Actually, as an example, yes. I mean, people, they always think when it's booming, when economy is high, generally speaking, that's when you have an opportunity to go to business. That's a big myth. That's a big note, at least to my experience. Actually, you can make money or start successful business when economy is going up, and you can just do the same thing when economy goes down. For instance, I had my mobile oil change business, which I had to go to the rental companies around in town, and I get all of them. I had all of them actually at a certain point, and I was doing oil change. So I was busy because cars they've been rented and being used from people, the workforce, in 2007 and 8, time. So of course I was busy because cars being driven around, and when the economy went down after the 2008, summer 2008, what happened was everybody was screaming and everybody was gone out of business, but I was busy. Why? Because cars being returned now, so they come back to me to the shop so I can service them again because they are due for service. So I benefited from the economy circumstances with that business model when things were going up, and then my business was even crazier. I couldn't even finish my work because it was 1 month operation, but when with all the cars they were coming back to me. So you can make money when it's down. And I just leave it with one example because I have too many of them. Property maintenance, I was looking after rental places, and for sale houses because the market was booming. And when it died, guess what? I looked after repossessed houses because people, they were losing their houses. Same business, same guy, same everything.
So let me, before I agree with all that you say, there's a refocus of from where I sit and see. I'll go back to the entrepreneurship, what they were saying. There are hobbies and there are entrepreneurship. Right? A lot of people will start something. I like to do that, right? Sometimes it's hobby, right? Entrepreneurship, right? It's like you said, it's an evolution. It has, and talking about starting up and where the money is coming from. Being in finance and helping businesses deal with those issues, this is what I've found. There's money everywhere. There's money everywhere. What is difficult? What I find is difficult for businesses are two things, right? There's startups. In starting up, do you have the professional support to guide you through those paths? Or are you thinking about the business and the ideas at the same time thinking about all of it? Because you probably don't know the people with the money or the investors with the money. So that you don't know them or you don't find them does not mean that the money is not there. Secondly, it comes down to value communication. So when you're starting a business, it might seem great in your head, right? And it might be hobby. And the statistics will baffle you, right? 5 years down the road, right? Less than 10% of businesses will be left standing. And the 90 to 95% that will die, they will die with resources pumped in, money pumped in. And so investors are acutely aware of these statistics. So before they put money in, the value must be clear. And three critical questions must be answered. Where do I put my money? What does it do? What's in it for me? How do I take it out? Right? Now, coming back to where the Fort Mac economy is, right? In the seed of every downtown, right? Right in every downtown are the seeds for future growth. And when economies go down, sometimes there are forced corrections right? When the economy, if you start from a boom, everyone is making money. It's like trying to climb a mountain in summer. Everybody claim to be a climber, but when it's tough, stormy, that's when you separate the real entrepreneurs from those who are, and that's when you separate the efficient ones, those who are really into this, right? Who are able to bring people and resources around to get, to identify the seeds for the next growth, to identify the direction of next growth ahead and follow. Like you said, you move, right? And then it goes, right? The second thing is this. Fort McMurray is struggling. Fort McMurray should ideally be a very organization-based economy, but it's making the transition from skill and technique-based to organization-based or organizational economy. It's taking a tough adjustment, a tough struggle. Sometimes that's what we help businesses do. Right? You see an individual business, like a restaurant owner. Take for instance a restaurant owner, right? There are no customers coming in, right? Every day he comes, he has this debt to pay, he has this book to balance, he has these suppliers to satisfy, these salaries to pay, and he's the only person thinking about all this and also thinking about whether or not the next customer will come. Mm-hmm. So in a down economy, it's quite overwhelming for businesses. That's where you need the second and the third heads.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's when you need the peers. You don't have to do everything. You just have to focus on the value proposition. Third, you see, when economy is building wealth, right? If all it's doing is sharing the wealth created from inside, then when the economy goes down, the competition is usually fierce. Mm-hmm. Less for the same number or less for more. An economy that is really healthy, really thriving, you will find out that what happens with the businesses inside is that when the local economy goes down, the wealth is coming from outside in. Why? Because during the growth phase, during the last cycle, they've been able to build this, they've been wired into this global supply chain. They are able to build partnerships not just here, or they've built their capacity to be able to render services not just in the local economy, but in other economies, whether through partnerships or subsidiaries, right? So when the local economy is shot, right, they are sustained by what they are bringing. I'll take for instance when I came to Fort Mark first as a consultant. Usually my services are generally helping businesses go through all this, a whole lot of, but I didn't have any client here. But the business model we have is built as a federated business across the world. I know people who knew me, it's now that I'm staying more and more in Fort McMurray. Otherwise, every week in, 2 weeks out, and I'm everywhere around the world delivering service. How? Because you see our business model. Like, look, we're just going to bring solution to all our clients everywhere, and even if they are local, the solution they are going to get will be at global quality level, with resources across the globe. Are we able to bring such people into Fort Mark to work? We may never be able to do that because these are top global level things. So what do? If you have a problem in Europe and you think that Joshua is a key guy in this area, that is competent in this area, you fly him in. Stage 1 or 2, he solves that problem. When he faces a client in his area and you are the competent, he flies you in. So we are wired in the global. The business is a global business, but not the cost of a global business. and everyone has his own business in that chain, and we are supporting our clients all over the world. So if I have, for instance, a client in Fort McMurray that is trying to supply stuff in Europe, I have somebody in Europe, local, who understand the laws, the issue, the economy, and all that. That will just, I'm working with him here, and he gets it, and it's set. You know, that is the new economy. That's how the new economy works in this world now.
So it's really nice to have that go full circle from like the challenges right now. I think the challenge is in the mind and the capacity of thinking that things have to be local. Not necessarily, like you said, to hire people with that competency. You look here first because that would be prime.
Right.
Yes.
Right? That would
Yeah.
be prime.
Yeah.
But the reality, like we're talking about, which was the common theme, is that it's a global economy. We need to raise our awareness of exactly how we provide that value or that service, and then build that network into other regions. So, yeah, with that said, guys, I want to thank you for your time. It's been awesome. Yeah, but thanks for joining the panel. Everything that matters to you. So I look forward to the next episode, and just give us your feedback on what you thought. Cheers,
And
guys.
They have a beautiful facility here. My first time to see it, I was really impressed. Thank you for coordinating this event.
Yeah, you bet, guys. Awesome.
We'll never let go before. Like, thank you, special thanks
Thank
to
you so
you to
much.
make
Yeah,
this
guys.
happen well.
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
This is-
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
guys. Good
Yes,
conversation.
Thank
thank
you,
you
uh,
very
this
much.
is-
We look
I
forward
think
to.
we all learned something.
Yeah, oh
of
yeah,
course,
oh yeah,
of
oh yeah,
course.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
This needs